Welcome to the Scent of Beauty. My name is Susan, and today's video is entitled, Is It Real or Is It Memorex? As we approach the new year, many of us are getting ready to make New Year's resolutions. We're ready to have this year behind us and looking forward to a new beginning. And so the reason why I titled this video, Is It Real or Is It Memorex? It's because I wanted us to delve into our psyche even on a deeper level than the last video I made. The reason behind our gift giving. If we are not aware that many of our thought pattern, our thought lives, our recordings, our muscle memories, then we set ourselves up for failing in the new year because we haven't tapped into the recordings. Take a look at them and see if we would like to either get rid of them or, most of all, just to have an awareness of these muscle memories. Muscle memories, as I defined it, is our chief of staff. If you imagine us as the presidents in our own lives, the chief of staff is our psyche, the conclusions that we have drawn by our experiences. Have you ever taken a look consciously of how you have prepared yourself for your workday, your interactions with various individuals? How are you prepared? Many of us are prepared by our psyche briefing as we get ready physically. Our psyche briefs us on what has occurred with others, people in our past, or the current relationships that we're having. Have you ever taken a closer listen, not even look, listen to our recall? We wake up recalling an experience, the total recall, to pay attention to our thought life. How many recalls do you have per day? Gaining this knowledge about our gaining knowledge consciously, we gain momentum on our own ability to think and reason out these thoughts that have been guiding us, and for many of us, that have been governing us. Because our psyche believe every word that we tell ourselves. Our psyche doesn't have the ability to differentiate between our world that we create internally and our world that is happening externally. The memory muscle, it's very solid and it is hard to penetrate. That's why, as I stated before in my mission statement, I don't do pep talks. I don't believe in, the encouraging to get to that momentum. I don't like fluff and I like substance. And that's why I like to incorporate the videos with neuroscience, because when it comes to our psyche, we have to have some knowledge of our brain mechanism in order to aid our well-being. Where does our chief of staff gets its intel? Where do we even ask ourselves, where's that information coming from? Our memory bank. We have our own pantries, whether we realize it or not, and we have our own processed food. We have canned it, we have expired food, we have outdated thoughts. And we open these doors with our constant recalling. The ironic thing about this is that with when an individual is canning fruit or whatever they're canning, it has to be sealed off with heat, the lid. But how many times when we are angry, resentful, offended, these are the exact opposite. When it's sealed off, we get to look at what had we canned, what had we processed, and how long has it been sitting in our pantry, in our psyche. When we take a look at our mental status, our emotional status, our psychological status, we've heard you are what you eat. You'll eat your words. You will eat your words. What are those words we are eating in private? Many of us are a beast in our psyche. The words we have fed ourselves and still feeding ourselves, those junk food, those words that don't have any nourishment, those words that are not inspiring, that are not supporting. Many of us subconsciously, how often do we call ourselves? I've heard people even verbally saying it. I'm so stupid. I always make mistake. I do nothing right. She doesn't like me. He doesn't like me. I don't fit in. I'm never invited. Is it real or is it Memorex? Is it a recording? In our hippocampus, in our minds, we have under our temporal lobe, we have the learning and memories are in there. It's actually embedded in our temporal lobe. It's called what is it called, a vulnerable structure, right? And it could get damaged by the variety of stimulation. We stimulate ourselves. We don't even need another individual to start this stimulation process. If our memory muscle is intact, right, it will continually feed us. And so what are we eating and what are we gaining? It's amazing, these modern day science, because as I said, our the PET scan, MRI scan can visually show us the subregions of our minds, the places that we have these depressive anxiety disorders, where they're stemming from. And it's about observation. So, these neuro images are picking up on these thoughts that we're having. So now we know it's not just, what we're thinking. It literally have its life. It's active and it's visible. So this idea of sticks and stones could break my bones, but words will never hurt me. It's not accurate. What I find that helps us or will help us is amenities. Have you ever wondered? Well, we know why we love vacation. Amenities. We have someone that's already prepared this wonderful habitation for us to enter in so we could relax, we could rest, we could bask in sun, we could, smell the ocean if that's what we like. Some of us we're snow bunnies and we like to get away from, say, it depends on our climate. That's what I'm saying, that we know our individual climate, what resonate with us, our sense of tranquility, our amenities. If we get familiar with that, I am, the more I'm delving into our psyche, I realize that, amenities are not only afforded for vacation, it is actually something that we could implement on a daily basis. The quality of our being, our resources spent on creating what we look for once a year. If we're really lucky, some of us could have a vacation twice a year. But what happened to our psyche the rest of, our day to day interactions? We can't talk about the scent of beauty and talk about ingredients and recipes without talking about the psychological health and well being, the functional settings, um, almost like the pots and pans, what holds. Our chemical reaction. What is the intrastructure of our being? I want to elaborate a little bit more on amenities because there are what we desire, and it is also like a place of comfort, a resort, a benefit. It's solutions, provision, it's an aid, it's also niceness. When we go on vacation, we get people, we have a facility, we have resorts that are absolutely prepared to welcome us, prepared for us before we even enter in, because they prepare daily for what we enter in once a year. So, is it real or is it Memorex? Today, we're going to talk about being real, really prepared as we go into the next year and ready in the next year by revealing the amenities that we need. I no longer, um, you know, is waiting on luck, waiting on chances. We have the ability to decipher, being an adult, the whimsical, the, unskilled, unstudied, untrained, subconscious way of living. That's why I said, how do we prepare? What are we recalling our chief of staff, that those memories? Today we could banish those, but we have to replace as we banish, right? Because we have to replenish. We don't have to go into the new year with a is it Memorex, looking for our knight, looking for, the soulmate, someone to complete us. Today, before we get into 2020, today we have the gift of choice. We could give it the old college try. What about that? Babe Ruth talked about that in his book. I think he wrote it in 1928, right? The book of baseball. I think that's the name of it. But the good college try, the vigorous, committed attempt, the effort, but not by force with the scent of beauty with our psyche, but it's an intentional amenity. It's that scent of tenderness that we give ourselves. Give ourselves our one best shot. And when I say one best shot, it's a daily shot, best shot. So we wake up and we don't have to go into recalling memories that don't sustain us but take away from our well being.